everyone, I'm Dr. D'Angelo here in my office at Willow Wellness, and today we are talking about behaviors. So, when we're in our series on thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, I always like to end with behaviors because they really tie everything all together. And all of the work that we do on our thoughts and on our feelings really culminate in focusing on behaviors and what we call values directed action. So, we've talked about thoughts and we've talked about feelings and our level of control around each of these, how feelings are really on the far end of the continuum where we have the least amount of control over them. Thoughts are somewhere in the middle. We have a little bit more control than we do over our feelings, but not as much as our behaviors, because our behaviors are what we have the most control over. And not only that, our behaviors are what we have the greatest consequences or the greatest rewards that come back to us for our behaviors. And I think oftentimes folks, when we start this work on acceptance and awareness of what we're thinking and feeling, there can be fear that comes up around some of the thoughts that we have or the feelings that we have, because we can get into patterns where we act out of our emotions or we act out of our thoughts. And with this work, even though we're turning up the dial on trying to be aware of what's flowing through our bodies and our minds at different times, it doesn't mean that we lose control over our behaviors. And a lot of this mindfulness-based work focuses on dividing the space between what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what we are doing. Because even if we are experiencing very difficult emotions or we're stuck in a pattern of thinking that is difficult, it does not mean we have to act on those thoughts. It does not mean we have to act on those feelings, because our behaviors can come out of our value system, can come out of what is important to us, rather than what we feel or think at any given moment. And I really think this is the crux of what this type of work involves. And if you don't incorporate the behavior changes into this work, then you aren't going to be getting the full benefit out of mindfulness work. One of my favorite activities to do with clients when it comes to behaviors is called the Personal Values Card Sort. You can see these have been well worn. I got them in graduate school and I've used them for myself. I've used them with clients. I've used them with folks that I've mentored or supervised. And this is something out of the University of New Mexico that they printed out a number of different values. And then there's an activity that you go through where you divide them into how important they are. And I'm not going to walk you through the entire activity because it will take almost a full session with clients. And I think the process itself is very healing and informative. But just to give you an idea of what a value is, I'm going to just read off a few examples for you, because sometimes it can be more of an abstract thought what a value is. So just to give you an example, honesty is one of the values that they list. To be honest and truthful. Justice, to promote fair and equal treatment for all. Self-control, to be disciplined in my own actions. And finally, faithfulness. Faithfulness, to be loyal and true in relationships. So these examples can kind of start giving you an idea of what we are talking about when we are talking about values. We aren't talking about goals. Values are different than goals. Goals are things that can be achieved. They are things that we can work toward and take steps toward, and we can arrive at a goal and be done with it and move on to our next goal. A value is something that is more abstract. It is a direction. It is something that we can choose to move forward towards and to base our actions upon. So things like justice or honesty you can't really arrive at 100% complete honesty or justice or faithfulness, but you can move in a direction of those things. You can have thoughts or urges to lie to your partner about what you were doing or where you were, but you can act out of your value of honesty and engage in the behavior of being truthful with your partner. So I really enjoy this part of the work because this is where all three things start coming together to help us move toward the life that we want to have. And so it is this point at which the three different things, the thoughts, the feelings, and the behaviors, start to interact with one another. And I think that this values-directed action becomes very important in our decision making and in our choices. And as we become more aware and accepting of what our thoughts are and what our feelings are, it becomes easier and easier to act out of our values rather than acting out of how we feel or what we think in any given moment. A lot of this thinking comes out of ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy, and the values-directed action is a major component of that. And so you can see in this series we've really taken a mindfulness and acceptance-based approach to working with thoughts and feelings and behaviors. This is not the only way of approaching these three different things. It is the way that resonates most for me personally and professionally. It's the way that I have seen the greatest amount of change for the most amount of clients. It's not going to be the match for everyone, but I think that it's worth a try to see that if it's helpful for you or not. So this is going to be wrapping up our series on thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Thank you for your time. Take care and be well.